Welcome back to the Ask Rusty Law podcast. I'm your host, Attorney Rusty Messer with Big River Trial Attorneys. Today, we're going to demystify something that a lot of people have questions about: contingency fees in personal injury cases. If you've ever wondered how injury lawyers get paid and what that means for you as a client, this episode is for you. So let's get started. First, let's talk about how contingency fees are different from the way lawyers charge for other types of legal work. So, in many areas of law, like maybe drafting a will, handling a real estate closing, or even defending a criminal case, attorneys will typically charge either an hourly rate or a flat fee. With an hourly rate, you're paying for the lawyer for every hour they work on your case, or sometimes for every 15 minutes, right? And this is whether you win or lose. So that might be 200, 300, 400 an hour, even more, depending on the attorney, the complexity of the case, and where you're located. So with a flat fee, you pay one set amount up front for the lawyer to handle a specific task. That might be $1,500 to prepare a contract or $15,000 to handle a complex criminal case or a divorce. But personal injury lawyers work differently. We work on what's called a contingency fee basis. And here's the key difference. So the lawyer only gets paid if you get paid. And if we don't recover money, if you don't recover money. Period. So this is a game changer for people who have been injured because it means you don't need thousands of dollars up front to hire a qualified attorney. You don't have to worry about paying $300 an hour while your case is pending. Instead, the attorney fee comes out of your recovery at the end of the case. So how much is that fee? Well, contingency fees in personal injury cases typically work on a sliding scale, and it depends on how far the case progresses. So in most personal injury cases, the standard contingency fee is 33% if the case settles before a lawsuit is filed. So if we're able to negotiate a settlement with the insurance company without having to file legal documents, our fee is 1/3 of the recovery. In both Louisiana and in Texas, you typically have 2 years from the date of the injury to file suit, so there's usually time to attempt to get the case settled before it's necessary to file a lawsuit. That time frame is different for each state. But that doesn't mean the cases always settle. If we have to file a lawsuit, the fee typically increases to 40%. Now why? Right? Because filing a lawsuit means significantly more work. I mean, you have to draft the pleadings up front, and that's some work, but it also means we're going to conduct discovery. We're likely going to take depositions. We're going to argue motions. We're going to prepare for trial. The case becomes more complex and time intensive. The filing suit means we are no longer dealing with an insurance adjuster, but with an experienced insurance defense attorney who needs to bill his client lots of hours before the case can be resolved. And if the case goes to appeal, the fee is usually 50%. You might be wondering, what's an appeal? So an appeal happens after a trial when one side believes the judge or a jury made a legal error. So then the case goes to a higher court called an appellate court, where judges review what happened in the trial court. Appeals involve detailed legal briefs, complex legal arguments, and they can take a year or more to resolve. Appeals usually involve intensive legal research, drafting long legal briefs, and sometimes making oral arguments in front of this panel of judges. So all of this is why the fee goes up to reflect the additional work. So what about cost? Now, here's something really important to understand. With a contingency fee agreement, you don't pay attorney's fees unless you win, but there's a separate issue called litigation cost. And not all lawyers handle these the same way. So litigation costs are the out-of-pocket expenses required to pursue your case. These are things like court filing fees, charges for obtaining medical records, fees for expert witnesses, taking depositions, costs to get police reports, things like that. And these things can add up sometimes to several $1,000s in a complex case. So here's where you need to pay attention. Some personal injury attorneys treat litigation costs separately from the contingency fee. That means even if you lose your case, the lawyer doesn't get paid a fee, you could still be responsible for reimbursing those costs to the lawyer. Now, most reputable injury lawyers, and this is how we do it at Big River Trial Attorneys, will advance all of the litigation costs. That means we pay these costs up front, and we only get reimbursed if we recover money for you. Now, if we don't win, you don't owe us anything, not our fees, not our costs, anything. We take on that financial risk so you don't have to. But it's crucial to ask about this when you're hiring a lawyer. Make sure you understand whether you could be on the hook for the cost, even if your case doesn't succeed. Let's look at a real world example. Let's make this concrete. Let's say you are injured in a car accident and we're able to settle your case for $100,000 before it's necessary to file a lawsuit. The contingency fee is 33%. Let's say there's $4,000 in litigation costs, and we have to pay out another $16,000 in medical bills and this is money that's going to have to be paid back to your health insurance or to your medical providers. Here's how that $100,000 gets divided up. So you have your attorney's fees at 33% or $33,000. You have your litigation cost at $4,000, which goes back to the attorney, and you have your medical bills at $16,000. Your net recovery is $47,000. Out of that $100,000 settlement, you walk away with $47,000. Some of you might be thinking, wait, I'm only getting $47,000 out of $100,000. But remember, without your lawyer fighting for you, you might have gotten a much lower offer or nothing at all. And you didn't pay anything out of pocket to pursue the case. Now, let's look at what happens if we can't settle the case and we have to file a lawsuit. Remember, once a lawsuit is filed, the contingency fee typically goes up to 40%. So using that same $100,000 recovery, here's how the numbers change. So now you would have attorney fees at 40%. You would have litigation costs, let's say they went up to $8,000. And you would have medical bills still at $16,000. Your net recovery is $36,000. You can see when a lawsuit has to be filed, you can potentially net less from your recovery. You would definitely net less from the same $100,000 recovery. Now, sometimes filing a lawsuit increases the offer, though. So this is why we always try to settle cases fairly before having to file a lawsuit. But when it makes sense for our clients, we will file suit. Sometimes the insurance company just won't make an offer that's fair. Filing a lawsuit is necessary to get you the compensation you deserve. Now, we also have a general rule in our office that the client always makes more than the lawyer. So even if it means we have to reduce our fee, it's also worth noting that once a lawsuit is filed, the litigation costs often go up too. So depositions are not cheap, expert witnesses charge for their time, and trial preparation has real expenses associated with it. So in a lawsuit scenario, these costs might be $10,000, $15,000, or even more, which would further reduce your net recovery. That's just the reality of litigation. However, sometimes you get more by filing a lawsuit or by going to trial. Here's one more way personal injury law is different from other areas. Most personal injury attorneys, including all of us at Big River Trial Attorneys, do not charge a consultation fee. You can call us, you can come into the office, you can sit down with an attorney to discuss your case. It's completely free of charge. Now, this is really different from other types of law. So if you need maybe a business attorney or a tax attorney or a family law attorney, many of them will charge $200 or $300, maybe even more, just for an initial consultation. So you're paying just to walk through the door and talk about your situation. Most injury attorneys do not do that. Why? Because injury attorneys understand that if you've been injured, you're already dealing with medical bills, lost wages, other types of stress, right? The last thing you need is to pay hundreds of dollars just to find out if you have a case. We want to remove that barrier. We want you to be able to get legal advice, understand your rights, and make an informed decision without incurring that financial risk up front. So if you're hurt and you're not sure whether you have a case, call an experienced injury attorney. It will cost you nothing to find out. All right, let's recap what we've covered today. Contingency fees mean you only pay your lawyer if you win. The typical fee is 33% before a lawsuit, 40% after a lawsuit gets filed, and 50% if the case goes to appeal. Litigation costs are a separate issue from attorney's fees, but most good injury lawyers will advance those costs and only get reimbursed if you recover money. Remember, the consultation is free and there's no risk to picking up the phone and talking to an injury lawyer about what happened to you. Look, if you've been injured and you're wondering whether you have a case or if you just have questions about how the legal process works, we're here to help. You can reach us at Big River Trial Attorneys and we'll be happy to talk with you. All right. Thank you for tuning in to the Ask Rusty Law podcast. If you found this helpful, please subscribe, leave us a review, like the channel, and share with anyone who might benefit from understanding how personal injury cases work. Until next time, stay safe and stay informed.